Hi everyone, I hope you're all okay and that you're taking care of your families at home and staying safe. I just want to say a big well done because it's been so lovely to see so many of you logging onto our website to complete your online learning that your teachers have been setting for you each day, and it's been so lovely to get so many pictures in of all of the hard work that you've all been doing, so well done. All of the staff at Button Lane are missing you so much, and we really do hope that we are back together again soon. I'm sure that you're missing your friends and your teachers and just school life in general, but just want to say a big thank you for staying safe and for helping to keep other people safe as well. So thank you. So the children in 3BI know all about my bunnies, Ant and Dec, and they love hearing stories about them, usually getting up to mischief. So this is Dec, and today I'm going to share a story with you which is all about a mischievous little bunny called Peter. The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the roots of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but do not go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now, my dears, I'm going out. Run along and don't get into any mischief." Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But of course Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed underneath the gate. It was like a rabbit's playground. First he had some lettuces, and then he had some French beans, and then he had some radishes. And even though he was feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But as he walked round the corner to the end of the cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor, who was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, jumped up and ran after Peter. "Stop, thief!" he called out whilst waving his rake in the air. Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes amongst the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so fast that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. But oh no, Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter. But Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. Quickly, he rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden under a flower pot. He began to carefully turn each one over. All of a sudden, "Ka-choo!" Peter sneezed. Mr. McGregor was after him in no time and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of the window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter, so he went back to work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not got the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, but not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the woods. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him, so Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his watering cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. After all, he had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard a noise. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter scuttered under the bushes. Presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor digging onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. So quietly, Peter got down off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go, along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside of the garden. Finding Peter's belongings, Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him until he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he just flopped down upon the nice soft sand of the floor of the rabbit hole. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that he had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea. But Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. And that is the tale of Peter Rabbit. And now you know how mischievous rabbits can really be. The end.